In the 7th year of my marriage to Victor, I discovered he had built a second home outside. That day, a girl came to me and said that 3 years ago he was going to divorce me. If it weren't for you getting sick, we would have been together long ago. How long are you going to keep dragging him down? When Victor rushed over, he slapped the girl across the face. Dare to make trouble in front of my wife again and we're done. Later, I insisted on divorce. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Victor's eyes were still red. But I knew. Without his silent permission, that girl could never have made it to me. This marriage, he was tired of it. Chapter 1. When the girl came to find me, I had just been told by the doctor I only had 3 months left. Originally, I was still thinking what kind of reason I should use to make my husband Victor, who loved me deeply, accept it. Then she appeared. We met at a cafe. The girl deliberately flicked her eyes toward the wig on top of my head. Then she lowered her gaze again and continued stirring the coffee in her hands. Sit. You're sick. If I say something ugly next, cut me off. On the phone, she had only mentioned Victor's name. But on the way here, honestly, I had already prepared myself. All the subtle abnormalities Victor had shown these days had all become the explanation for this moment. The girl's name was Zoe, only recently graduated from college. She said she and Victor had been together as far back as 3 years ago. At that time, Victor was going to divorce you, but then you got sick. He couldn't bear it. Her voice was flat, a little arrogant. Yet it also made you feel like it was only natural for someone favored to act that way. She lifted her eyes and met my still calm gaze. Anna, I know you're pitiful, but haven't you noticed? Your husband doesn't love you anymore. Under the table, my fingers kept looping in circles. I asked softly, so what? You came to persuade me to divorce him? As a wife, being approached by the woman your husband keeps outside, that's pretty rare. The girl took a sip of coffee, still wearing that lofty posture. I'm pregnant. I want to fight for a complete family for my child. I stayed silent for a long time. Then I blinked my eyes, which had grown a little sore, and let out a small laugh. Fine. I agree. Victor once told me he would never have children with a woman he didn't love. In that instant, it felt like I understood everything. Just as I was about to leave, Victor suddenly rushed in from outside, drenched in sweat. In full view of everyone, he carried a vicious edge and slapped the girl hard, loud and clear. The upbringing he'd received since childhood meant he was not a man who laid hands on women. But at that moment, Victor had lost all his gentlemanly restraint. Didn't I tell you not to make trouble in front of my wife, Zoe? If there's a next time, we're done. I didn't look at the emotional entanglement between the two of them. I only, when Victor chased after me, lightly shook off his hand. Let me calm down, okay? The man froze there, staring as I walked away. Chapter 2. I walked along the scorching summer streets, lost and directionless. Was I sad? A little, perhaps, but more than that, I was at a loss over Victor's change of heart. In fact, during these 3 years of illness, it wasn't that I hadn't noticed. Victor didn't love me that much anymore. A pale face day after day, hair fallen out, a body so fragile it could shatter at a touch, constantly worn down by time, gradually eroding the intimacy and affection between husband and wife. I had guessed that one day Victor would grow tired of this sickly life. Today merely brought that fatigue forward. It wasn't until near nightfall that I returned home. Victor was sitting on the steps in front of the door, waiting for me. He was holding a thermos. When he saw me, he stood up and handed me the white pills he'd been holding in his palm for who knows how long. His voice was still as gentle as ever. You haven't taken today's medicine yet. Even if you're angry, don't fight with your own body. Only after watching me obediently swallow them did the man finally let out a slow breath. In the living room, there were only the two of us. Victor helped me sit down. Ask whatever you want. I'll tell you everything. I was still holding the thermos. The water inside was still warm. Clearly, he had put thought into it. In truth, when it came to taking care of me, Victor had always done everything himself. I took a small sip of water to moisten my dry throat. That child, what are you planning to do? I didn't ask him why, while we were still in love, he had cheated with another woman. Nor did I ask why, since he had already chosen me, he continued to stay involved with her. Victor looked at me, a few traces of seriousness appearing in his eyes. Anna, I don't want to lie to you. I want to keep the child. I nodded. But my fingers stiffened, frozen for a long time without moving. Victor leaned closer, bent down, and looked up at me. Anna, I won't leave you. You can rest assured of that. I knew, he was pitying me. Pitying me for being alone in this world with no one to rely on. So he chose to give up part of his love and use a lifetime to take care of me, a woman who was important to him yet also not important. Chapter 3. Perhaps because that girl had appeared and I had found out, Victor felt unburdened. That night, right in front of me, he answered a call from Zoe. On the phone, his voice was a little cold, as if he were still angry, yet it carried a familiarity and casual ease. Since I fell ill, Victor had hidden all his negative emotions away, never letting them show in front of me. But is it really normal for one side to suppress their feelings for so long? Victor's voice grew louder and louder. It sounded like an argument. With a bang, he even smashed the phone without hanging up. The phone rolled a few times and came to rest by my feet. I watched the man's chest heave violently, but the moment he realized I was still there, he calmed down at once. He patted my hair, his tone gentle. Did I scare you? Sorry, I lost my temper. I don't know what came over me. I really shouldn't have asked. Is it like this between you two often? The man showed a faint smile, as if touched by memory. She's not like you. She's got a big temper. When she fights with me, it can last all day. I lowered my head, not knowing how to respond. See, I'd only made things awkward for myself. At that moment, the phone Victor had thrown on the floor began to ring again. The man hurriedly picked it up and pressed answer. Because we were so close, this time I could clearly hear the spoiled female voice on the other end. Victor, you have half an hour. If you're not here by then, we're breaking up. After saying that, she hung up first. The man shook his head helplessly, a trace of indulgence slowly appearing on his face. He turned to me and said, I've spoiled her. Just ignore it. Victor walked to the bed and bent down to make it for me. Go check on her. Don't let anything happen. I thought I'd need to persuade him a bit more. But Victor immediately released the quilt in his hands and walked out. All right. You go to sleep first. Don't wait for me. The last two words came from the stairwell. Chapter 4. That night, I didn't wait for him. Victor didn't come back either. It was only the next morning, there was an extra photo on my phone. A man lying asleep on a bed. Along with a line of malicious, triumphant provocation. Even if you cling to this marriage to the death, so what? Isn't he still mine? I ignored it and got up as usual to wash up. Just a simple face wash and brushing my teeth, yet I ended up dragging it out in the bathroom for a full 2 hours. When I came out, Victor was sitting on the bed, scrolling through my phone. The expression on his face wasn't pleasant. He lifted his gaze and strode over to me. Staring at my swollen, reddened eyes, his voice carried a hint of distress. You cried? Sorry, I didn't know she would do something like this. I froze for a moment. Victor pointed at my phone on the bed. The message Zoe had sent me earlier, he had seen it. I slowly walked over, picked up my phone, and deleted it. It's fine. She has your favor. I can understand that. Something I said must have hit the wrong nerve. Victor grabbed my shoulders, his grip a little too tight. For the first time, he lost his usual gentleness. Anna, I am your husband. When something like this happens, why aren't you angry? Why aren't you jealous? Why don't you question me? I shifted slightly but couldn't break free. I had no choice but to meet those eyes darkening with anger. Victor, she's been with you for 3 years, and she's the future mother of your child. Tell me, what identity should I use to confront her? After saying that, I laughed softly. The man held my face, stopping me from smiling any further. I could even feel the pain radiating from him at that moment. You are my wife, the wife I, Victor, married openly and lawfully. Yes. But if I'm the wife he acknowledges, Why does he only teach me how to endure and resist, instead of making the woman who bullies me leave? I opened my mouth, wanting to say something, but Victor shoved me aside. He let out a self-mocking laugh. Fine. If you're willing to suffer quietly, then I was being nosy. The first argument since I fell ill ended just like that, in bitter discord. Chapter 5. Victor seemed to be sulking with me. For several days, he didn't come home. But every day, 5 minutes before my medication time, he would call to remind me. Before I could even answer, he'd hang up. That day, I went to the hospital to get my medicine, and unexpectedly saw Zoe there for a prenatal checkup. Her mother was with her. There wasn't the slightest joy on the middle-aged woman's face about her daughter's pregnancy. I had intended to leave, but when I heard a certain sentence, my feet stopped on their own. Back then your father and I told you to break it off with him, but you refused. You already miscarried once for him 3 years ago, and now you're still having a child for him, are you stupid? The woman kept trying to persuade her daughter. Zoe, listen to your mother. Abort this child. I'll introduce you to a decent, honest man. Break it off with Victor. Zoe quietly lowered her head, gently stroking her belly that hadn't started showing yet. A faint smile curved her lips. Mom, 3 years ago Victor knew his wife was sick and couldn't divorce her, and that's why he accidentally caused me to lose the child. But 3 years later, he was the one who actively asked me to give birth to his bloodline. I didn't listen to what came after. My steps were unsteady as I walked away. Actually, the year I fell ill, I was pregnant too. But I had no choice but to terminate it. I still remember, that night, Victor curled himself into a ball, heartbroken beyond words. But thinking about it now, was he really grieving for our child that night? Halfway through the corridor, I ran straight into Victor. He must have rushed to the hospital right after finishing work. His forehead was covered in sweat. When he saw me, guilt flashed across his face. He was just about to raise his hand to greet me, but perhaps remembering that we were still in a cold war, he turned his head away again. That was when Zoe came up from behind. She brushed past me, looped her arm intimately through his, staking her claim. Victor looked uncomfortable, but in the end, he didn't shake her off. He cleared his throat. Anna, how's your health? I've been busy with work lately and haven't had time to come to the hospital with you. I'm fine. Pretty good. I didn't say anything more. Only, as I brushed past Victor, I left him with one sentence. Come home tonight. There's something I need to talk to you about. Chapter 6. Actually, I had never planned not to divorce Victor. The moment Zoe first came looking for me, when I said I agreed, that wasn't a lie. Why didn't I mention it to Victor? Probably because packing takes time, and I wanted to stay a few more nights. After all, I had lived in that house for 7 years. Alright, I lied. I just wanted to see, after Victor thought I had accepted that he had built a second family outside, how he would treat me. The result wasn't what he claimed. He didn't treat me like a wife for life. Once he no longer had to worry about hiding things from me, he favored Zoe openly, often didn't come home, and let me suffer quietly. Just like tonight. We had clearly agreed he would come home tonight. Yet even after I finished packing all my luggage, Victor still hadn't shown up. The housekeeper had already slept and woken once, and still saw me sitting motionless on the living room sofa. She glanced at me, said nothing, and went back to her room. After hesitating for a moment, she picked up her phone and dialed Victor's number. The man's voice was slightly hoarse from being woken up, accompanied by a coquettish female voice. Who is it? It's the middle of the night, can't people sleep? The housekeeper was hired by me. She felt indignant on my behalf, and her voice grew louder. Sir, have you forgotten your agreement with Madam? You didn't come home, and Madam hasn't taken her medicine yet, while you're sleeping quite comfortably. Victor, who had still been half asleep, woke up instantly. He grabbed his pants and got out of bed. As expected, Zoe wrapped her arms around his waist. Victor, it's too late. Don't go back. She clung to him, refusing to let him leave. But Victor showed not the slightest hesitation. In less than a minute, he was out the door. At 2 in the morning, the sound of the keypad echoed through the house. Victor was back. Chapter 7. The first thing he did after coming home was pour me a glass of warm water. Then he placed my medication into my palm. Actually, I hadn't forgotten to take my medicine. It was just that, this medicine no longer worked for me. So I thought I'd be willful this once and not take it. But under Victor's concerned gaze, I swallowed it all anyway. He pulled out a tissue and gently wiped the water from the corner of my lips, then sat down beside me. Anna, is there something so urgent that you had to talk to me about it today? Being dragged back from Zoe's side in the middle of the night, there wasn't a trace of displeasure on his face. Victor was always like this, sometimes making it impossible for me to even hate him. I turned my head away, my eyes stinging slightly. After this departure, I probably wouldn't see him again. I took a deep breath, then looked at Victor, who was about to wipe my tears. Let's get a divorce. His hand froze, his voice trembling. Anna, don't joke like that. I can't handle being scared by you. I didn't avoid the pain in his gaze. I spoke softly. I want to leave here, find a place with clear mountains and clean waters and focus on recovering. I can go with you. I shook my head. No, Victor. I still care. For once, confusion appeared on the man's face. What? Zoe. I care. I care that you cheated during our marriage. I care that you got her pregnant 3 years ago. And I care that my husband has to get out of another woman's bed in the middle of the night before he can come home. Victor's face gradually turned pale. It was as if only then he realized that his coldness toward me these days had hurt me too. He grabbed my hand tightly, flustered. I'm sorry. I ignored your feelings. I promise I won't stay out overnight anymore. As for Zoe, I'll deal with her properly. I won't let her bother you again. I stood up, leaving him alone by the sofa. Tomorrow we'll go to the civil affairs office. My flight is in the afternoon. I can't afford any delays. Chapter 8. When Victor walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the corners of his eyes were still red. This morning, I had forced him to come with me to get the divorce certificate. At the very last moment, he finally compromised. I had brought my luggage with me. I was heading straight to the airport. Before getting into the car, Victor pressed a bank card into my hand. This was opened years ago under your name. The password is, the day we first met. He paused for a second. This was the affection he had secretly prepared for me when he still loved me, yet handed over to me only after he stopped loving me. How ironic. We overcame countless obstacles of identity and circumstance, yet failed to survive the cruel twists of fate in everyday life. I took the bank card. Waved my hand. Didn't turn back. Didn't hesitate. And got into the car. Actually, I'm grateful to him. At least during those 3 years when I was ill, Victor gave me hope. Gave me support. And accompanied me through the hardest period of my life. When I arrived at the airport, a long voice message came through on my phone. It was Victor. He was reminding me to take my medicine on time. Not to stay up late. Not to overthink every day. And if anyone bullied me, I had to tell him. I didn't listen to the rest. I interrupted the dozen consecutive 60-second voice messages that followed. Victor, I'm leaving. I wish you happiness. On the other end, the screen kept showing typing. For a long time. Only after quite a while did he reply. Anna, take good care of yourself. You will be happy too. No. Victor, I won't be happy. Chapter 9. While my physical condition was still manageable, I returned to the orphanage where I had grown up. The headmistress was getting old, and her health was often poor. The day I went back, she had been taken to the hospital by her daughter and was on an 4 drip. I didn't go to see her. I only bought some food for the children in the orphanage. This orphanage, hidden away in a remote small town for 30 years, had given every orphan like me a home. Most of the teachers who remained there now were already elderly. They had watched me grow up. Our little Peanut has really grown into a young lady, more and more beautiful. Little Peanut was my childhood nickname. Whenever I returned here, they all liked to call me that. But I knew, the teachers were lying. I didn't look good now, The sharpness of my bones showed plainly through my face. Some of the more emotional teachers even hid away to cry for a while, and when they came back, their eyes were red. When Victor and I got married, all the teachers had attended the wedding. Every time I returned here after that, he always came with me. But this time, it was as if the teachers had all agreed beforehand. No one mentioned him. They held on to me and talked for hours about funny things from my childhood, only wanting me to stay a little longer, saying that the headmistress would be back soon. I waved my hand and smiled. No, I'm in a hurry. I'll miss my ride if I stay. Perhaps my smile was too bright, it softened some of their suspicions. They shouted after my retreating figure. Then promise us, next time you come back, you'll stay a few more days. I didn't respond. A promise destined to be broken shouldn't give others hope in the first place. I donated all the money in the bank card, anonymously, to this orphanage, hoping that the children's living conditions could be a little better, and that the childhood they had left behind could be a little happier. Chapter 10. For the time I had left, I went to the northernmost city. I was admitted to a local hospital. In the bed next to mine was an elderly grandfather, with an elderly grandmother caring for him by his side. On my first day there, the grandmother treated me to a home-cooked meal. It was fragrant. I ate until I was completely full. When there was nothing to do, we chatted a little, walked around the corridor. I also got to know quite a few people. They were all kind. Not a single person ever abruptly asked me, "Why is it always just you? Where is your family? Where is your husband?" Days passed like this, one after another. I didn't feel lonely. Until one day, Victor contacted me. He asked, "Do you still have enough medicine? I can go to the hospital to get some for you and mail it over." Victor must have forgotten. Even before Zoe came looking for me, it had already been a long time since he last went to the hospital for me. Back then, the excuse I made for him was that he was busy with work. Only later did I realize Zoe was pregnant, and he simply couldn't spare the attention for me. I typed a few words. "There's still some." "No need. Thank you." There was no reply after that. After the elderly grandfather in the neighboring bed finished his surgery, he was preparing to be discharged. Before leaving, he left behind all the fruit that relatives and friends had brought to visit him these past days. All of it was given to me. It was winter, so it would keep. The grandmother said it would be enough for me to eat for more than half a month. She said that in a few days it would be New Year's, and she would come bring me dumplings then. I just smiled. After they left, the hospital room was left with only me. And I also began to speak less and less. That day, it started snowing outside. I didn't get to welcome the new year. I didn't get to see fireworks. And I didn't get to wait for the dumplings. Chapter 11. On New Year's Day, the grandmother kept her promise and asked her son to bring me dumplings, pork and scallion filling. But on the familiar hospital bed, there was already another elderly man, thin to the bone. The nurses in the corridor were speaking in hushed voices. "This grandpa's children are really heartless." During the new year, none of them wanted to take him home, yet they were afraid the neighbors would laugh. After discussing it, they actually sent him to the hospital. The old man kept gazing out the window, where the crackling sounds of firecrackers filled the air. It made him look so unbearably lonely. By his bedside, there wasn't a single thing to eat. That day, the bowl of dumplings, still steaming, was given to someone else who needed warmth. Back at home, the grandmother called her son, shivering from the cold, to sit down and eat. She even asked about me. "How is Anna? Did she eat the dumplings?" The elderly woman brought the dishes out from the kitchen, still muttering to herself. I even bragged in front of her, said the dumplings I make taste better than the ones sold in restaurants. The son lowered his head, took a mouthful of food, and replied vaguely. "I was in a hurry to get home. I just dropped them off and left." She probably ate them. The grandmother slapped her son irritably and glared at him. "Useless. I can't rely on you for anything. That poor girl is all alone. Why didn't you stay and talk to her a bit more? Forget it. When I have time, I'll go ask her myself and chat with her too." The old woman kept thinking about it. Finally, after the new year, when she had time and wanted to go to the hospital to see me, her son stopped her. "Mom, that night, I didn't see her." Just one sentence. And the nutritional supplements in the old woman's hand slipped free, suddenly falling, spilling across the floor. Chapter 12. Victor's New Year greeting to Anna still hasn't received a reply. A faint sense of unease crept into his heart. After opening their chat window countless times, Victor finally lowered his head first. He typed the words that had been looping endlessly in his mind. "Are you angry?" After a while, there was no response. "If you regret it, you can still come back." Victor stared unblinking at the message he had just sent. Only when Zoe called out to him from outside did he put his phone away and step out of the bathroom. Zoe's belly was already very noticeable. Pregnancy had made her temperament even more delicate and clingy. She studied Victor suspiciously, then suddenly reached out. "Let me see your phone." Back when they were together, it wasn't that Zoe had never checked his phone before. But this time, and only this time, Victor exploded. "Can you give me some privacy? When I was with Anna, she never checked my phone." After saying that, ignoring Zoe's reddened eyes, he stormed out the door. When Victor got into the car, his chest was still heaving violently. The rage coiled in his heart never found an outlet. He irritably raked his fingers through his hair, then closed his eyes and slammed the steering wheel several times. Only then did he feel slightly better. He started the engine and drove straight to the hospital. Before getting out of the car, Victor opened his phone again. Still no new messages. "I got your medicine. If you see this, send me your current address." Chapter 13. Victor knew Anna's attending physician and went straight to find him. The elderly doctor with glasses cast an unfriendly glance at Victor. "You haven't been here for quite some time. You don't even know your own wife's condition." Victor's heart tightened sharply, though his face revealed nothing. He repeated himself. "I'm here to get Anna's medicine." The old doctor didn't even look up. "Her illness doesn't require medication anymore." Victor was about to ask more, when an intern doctor led him out. There were still many patients from out of town waiting outside. No time to waste on him. Victor could only stand there quietly, waiting. The hand he had shoved into his pocket, hidden from sight, was trembling nonstop. His heart trembled as well. Finally, close to the lunch break, there were no more patients inside. Victor took a deep, forceful breath, and knocked before going in. A long time later, he emerged clutching his chest, walking out of the hospital like a soulless shell. His mind was filled with the conversation from moments ago. 3 months ago today was the day Anna went to the hospital. It was also the day Zoe appeared. Heaven seemed to have played a cruel joke on him. Today was also the day Victor learned the truth. He couldn't help but think, that day, when Zoe went to Anna, forcing her to divorce, what must Anna have been thinking? She hid her illness, faced the arrogant Zoe, didn't cry to him, didn't make a scene. Victor suddenly realized what a complete bastard he was. Why couldn't he have been a little more patient with her? Why did he grow tired of the woman he once loved so deeply, just because she got sick, just because she no longer looked good? He left the car parked at the hospital entrance. Because at that moment, Victor didn't even have the strength to drive back. Chapter 14. Victor didn't go home. Only now did he finally understand where that daily sense of emptiness came from. A house without Anna wasn't a home at all. So Victor abandoned Zoe, abandoned their child, and went alone to look for his wife. Victor didn't believe Anna was dead. In his heart, Anna was a living person. She wouldn't die. But Victor searched through many places they had once been to together, asked countless people. No one had seen Anna. He went to the orphanage where Anna had stayed as a child. They said Anna had come, and then left. She didn't leave behind a single word. Except that after she left, there was a large anonymous donation. Hearing that familiar amount, Victor knew, it had to be his Anna. Since this was the place she cherished most, Victor decided to stay here and wait for her to return. Victor squatted at the orphanage gate every day. Passers-by who didn't know the situation reported him to the police several times. Probably in his entire life, he had never entered a police station as often as he did during this period. After the headmistress brought Victor out yet again, she sighed. Little Peanut is thoughtful. If she had anything she wanted to say to you, she would have left you a clue. Why don't you go back home and look for it? As soon as those words fell, Victor felt as if he'd just woken from a dream. He turned and ran straight for the station. Chapter 15. I don't know why, but when I woke up, I was back in the home where I had lived with Victor for 7 years. The house was dark. No lights. Only me. The housekeeper was gone too. I don't know how long passed, until a beam of light came in, along with the heavy sound of the door being pushed open. Following hurried footsteps, Victor appeared, thin and darkened, clearly having lost weight. He froze instantly at the doorway. His eyes fixed on the direction where I was sitting on the stairs. I sprang to my feet, somewhat puzzled, and shouted at him. "Hey, Victor, can you see me?" The man still looked frozen, staring straight ahead, foolishly. I sat back down. I knew it. I'm already dead, how could he possibly see me? What a pity. I didn't get to eat Grandma's pork and scallion dumplings. Ever since I got sick, greasy food would make me feel sick after just a few bites. But now, without the torment of illness, I didn't feel hungry, yet I craved everything. My mouth was practically watering. Just as I was imagining what pork and scallion dumplings tasted like, Victor's phone rang. He was still standing there like he'd been frozen solid, letting the ringtone go on and on. So noisy. I covered my ears, but I could still hear it. Then, in the next second, Victor pulled the phone out of his pocket and hurled it out the door. He changed into slippers, picked up a cleaning cloth, and began tidying the house. He cleaned every room until it was spotless. From that day on, Victor lived here alone. For some reason, he didn't bring Zoe with him. Every day, he rummaged through every corner of the house as if searching for something, though I didn't know what. I felt a bit relieved. When I left back then, I had cleared everything away. I hadn't even left behind a single strand of hair. Nothing to hurt his eyes. Chapter 16. When Zoe came looking for him, Victor had already been living here for a week. Every day, he bought fresh pork and scallions. He made dumplings in the kitchen. Although I couldn't eat them, I could smell the fragrance. That alone was enough. That day, Zoe suddenly showed up. She glanced at the freshly boiled dumplings and said lightly, "I remember, you don't seem to like scallions." Victor stuffed a dumpling into his mouth. An oddly blissful expression appeared on his face. "Mama likes them." Zoe's chest tightened painfully, yet a chill crept over her at the same time. She only felt that the man in front of her was no longer quite sane. She took a breath and went straight to the point. "Victor, what do you plan to do about us?" The man kept eating without stopping, not even lifting his eyes. "Anything. Whatever. Then let's get married. The child needs a home." Victor's chopsticks stopped midair. Without hesitation, he shook his head. "That won't do. I already have a wife." Only after the last dumpling was swallowed did Zoe, standing by the table, finally speak again. "If you had known Anna would die, would you still have been with me?" "Yes." Victor glanced at my quietly curled-up figure on the sofa. His voice carried a trace of bitterness. "I thought she was better. That even if she left my side, she would still live well in this world. When Anna was here, I still had a heart capable of falling in love with someone else. But now that Anna is gone, I don't have a heart anymore. What would I use to marry you?" Chapter 17. Zoe bent over. It was hard to tell whether she was crying or laughing. A rather loud sound escaped her. When she lifted her head again, tears were already streaming down her face. She gathered herself, fell silent for a long time, then reached out and gently touched her abdomen. "Victor, our child, is gone." The man's eyebrow twitched ever so slightly. Other than that, there was no additional reaction. Zoe let out a few soft, mocking laughs. This time, her voice carried a faint, lifeless despair. "I used to think that in your heart, I could at least stand on equal footing with Anna. I even thought that in this world, no one could love you more than I did. But the moment I learned that Anna had died, I realized I had completely lost. At the very least, I would never, on my deathbed, personally help my husband be with another woman. Zoe pulled out a chair and sat down, took out her makeup bag. While touching up her ruined makeup, she said calmly, "Victor, my mom introduced me to a divorced man with a child. I'm going back to my hometown for a blind date. Aren't you going to ask why I'm not choosing a man with better conditions?" Before Victor could ask, Zoe continued on her own. "After aborting our child, I won't be able to get pregnant again in the future. Maybe this is my punishment. I shouldn't have met you. I shouldn't have destroyed your marriage with Anna. My mom was right, mistresses never get a good ending." Zoe stood up, pushed the chair back into place, as if she had never come at all. She took one last look at Victor. She bit her lip, turned around, and just as she stepped out the door, she still asked one question. "Did you ever love me?" Victor fell silent for a moment. He didn't answer the question. He only said, "I'll give you a sum of money to ensure your future life." Zoe didn't turn back. Her voice was hoarse. "I don't want it. Victor, I wasn't with you for money. If I took that money, it would only make me feel even more inferior to Anna." Chapter 18. "Aren't you going to chase after her?" Victor answered the empty living room. "There's no need." I drifted lightly to stand in front of Victor. There really wasn't a trace of sorrow on his face. "I thought you two loved each other deeply." "Victor, you're lying, aren't you? To keep a relationship hidden from me for 3 years, there's no way you didn't feel anything at all." The man pulled his unfocused gaze away from the sofa and locked precisely onto my eyes just inches away. So he really could see me. "Anna, are you satisfied now with how this ended for us?" The question caught me off guard. To say I didn't hate him would be a lie. But hatred, too, needs strength to sustain it. The moment we divorced, I told myself I must let go of Victor completely. Don't think about him. Don't look at him. My brief hesitation made Victor think I was still angry. He raised his hand and slapped himself hard across the face. Then, with a look bordering on madness, he said, "If you're still angry with me, then curse me. I'll do the hitting." I didn't stop him. Only when his face no longer resembled its original form did he finally notice my figure was gradually becoming transparent. Maybe I was wrong. I thought I didn't hate him. I was the one who got sick. I was the one who became unattractive. I was the one who burdened Victor. If he wanted to divorce me, it wasn't because he was heartless. But then, as Victor struck himself again and again, why did I feel a sense of relief? I think I finally understood. Seeing Victor fail to reach a happy ending was the deepest obsession buried in my heart. It was also the reason I appeared here. Now that my wish had been fulfilled, it was time for me to leave. The light of hope in Victor's eyes shattered bit by bit. He cried as he reached out to keep me, but could only watch helplessly as I continued to fade away before him. The last thing I saw was Victor picking up a fruit knife nearby, smiling as he said, "Anna, don't be afraid. I'm coming to be with you."